Hello and welcome to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney, and you have found the place where we talk about estate planning, elder law, real estate, and what's that other thing? Oh, yeah, business law. That's right. So if you have a question, a comment, or concern about estate planning, wills, trusts, or probate, what's so bad about probate? Why is it really, the most horrible, evilest thing on earth? Isn't true, really. But anyway, if you want to know about that, well, give us a call, 616-774-2424. That's the number to call, 616-774-2424. Or if you'd like to know, how do we avoid going broke? There's going to be, in the next couple of months, well, we'll talk about that later, but imagine 400,000 people receiving health benefits that will be gone with the wind. And I mean gone with the wind starting in April. 400,000. That's a lot of folks. And that's what this elder law stuff is all about. If you're receiving help with long-term care, whether it's the Medicare, Medicaid, whatever it is, give us a shout, especially the Medicaid, because that's what's going away. And you say, wait a second, is Medicaid going? Well, stick around. We'll tell you what We'll give you the what do they say? The 411. Nobody says that anymore, do they? I mean, if you ask the kid today, what does 411 mean? You think anyone would know? Probably not. Anyway, it's information, right? So if you want that information, give us a call, 616-774-2424. Just stick around. We'll be getting to that right quick. We also deal with real estate. Not the problem that it was a year ago. Do you remember a year ago? And I mean a year ago. Interest rates were what, 2%? What are they now, 6%? Oh, look, what a surprise. Nobody's buying houses anymore. What a shocker. The bottom has dropped out of the market. Well, not entirely dropped out, but to a large extent, yeah. So if you're thinking about buying or selling a home, other real estate issues, questions, comments, or concerns, now's the time. Give us a call, 616-774-2424, 616-774-2424. And don't tell me it's long distance, because I know you got a cell phone and it's free, or at least included. We also deal with real estate and business law. That's a big deal, getting bigger. Saw some statistics about half of the small businesses. Get this, half of the small businesses in America went belly up during this unnamed virus of unknown origin. All right, half. Well, and now there are some politicians in Washington who are like, oh, look what we did. Look at all these new businesses being formed. Yeah? How did that happen? Maybe the folks who went belly up because your other policies now decided, hey, you might as well get back in the game. Great. If you're getting back in the game, right? If you're getting back into that whole business thing, give us a call. Maybe there's something you can do differently this time around so that the bad things don't happen. Okay? 616-774-2424. Love to get the emails. Love the emails. David@davidcarrierlaw.com. David@davidcarrierlaw.com. And we'll get your email on the air at some point, as my father would say, back when he was saying anything at all. Anyway, back in the day, that was his thing. Yeah, I'll get to that at some point. So if you send us an email, we will get to it at some point. But if you want snappy answers to your questions, now's the time to call 616-774-2424. So an interesting trend the other day. Apparently, people dying because they got hit by cars. All right, imagine this. Somebody gets hit by a car and dies. Right? So over the last, I don't know, is it 30, 40 years? Don't hold me to this, but over the last 30, 40 years, the death rate of people getting hit by cars was chopped like in half, maybe 2/3. It went way down. Okay. So instead of like 6,000 people a year dying, it was 1,800. Well, it still sucks to be one of the 1,800. I get it. But still, guess what? It has rebounded. So they took this like 20-year downward curve. And then in the last several years, it's bounced back. See if you can guess what happened about 1 year before it bounced back. That's going to be our little contest. I want you to be thinking, what happened, right, that would have made the death rate from pedestrian automobile accidents. That's what we're talking about here now. We got automobile accidents. That's the thing, all right, that killed people. And the question is, how many, or excuse me, the question is, what happened, right, between now and then that made people start dying again from being killed by cars? Does that make sense? Let me see here. Let me get it exact. So it starting in 1990, the year we started this, right? So 33 years ago. And then in 2008, it plummeted. By 2008, it was way down. And now it's back where it used to be. Okay. And the question is, what happened around 2008, 2009? What do you think happened that would make that bounce back? It was a little thing, very popular, little thing. But it changed the course of mighty rivers, changed the number of people getting hit and killed by cars. Why do you think it bounced back? Okay, that's our Think 'em question. Maybe we'll do that every week. What do you think? Is that a good idea? Well, maybe. So 616-774-2424. Why am I saying that 400,000 Michigan residents, Michigan citizens, you are going to be thrown off your health care? Because you are. You have to, again, let's go back to the thrilling days of yesteryear when there was the unnamed virus of unspecified origin. And one of the things that everyone was concerned about was, what if we make people follow the rules? See, if we make people follow the rules, the Medicaid people on Medicaid, if we make them follow the rules, then they're going to lose the Medicaid. Plus, we want to dump as much money as quickly as possible into healthcare. And there's still hundreds. I mean, is this a surprise to anybody? There's like hundreds of billions of dollars of COVID money out there, just kind of hanging around. Hundreds of billions that you can't wipe out the deficit. That'll never happen, right? But there's hundreds of billions with a B, not trillions. Too bad, but who knows? Maybe. There's a whole lot of money out there that was set aside for the COVID. All right. And nobody's using it. Now, one of the things, I mean, forget about that for the moment. And why am I saying all these people are going to get thrown off the Medicaid? The answer is, when you're on Medicaid every year, long-term care Medicaid, the stuff that we talk about, not all Medicaid programs are the same. There's dozens of them, different requirements. I'm talking about the folks who are receiving help with nursing home care, other kinds of long-term care, assisted living, that kind of thing, or at-home care. Every year, they're supposed to go through this thing called redetermination, the redet process. And among other things, they do asset detection. That takes a whole week for them to go through asset detection with you, just to verify, just to make sure that you are on the straight and narrow, that you are complying with the Medicaid rules. Okay, big deal. It's a big deal to get on the thing. It's not that easy. Testify. Not that easy to get on the Medicaid. And every year they have to double check to make sure you're still eligible. You say, well, that makes sense, right? If somebody's not eligible, then they shouldn't be getting the benefits. Yeah. Well, you would think so. Anyway, for the last, call it 3 years, right? We're 23 and started March of 2020, last 3 years. They said, don't worry about the rules. We're not going to take any adverse action. We're not going to do the redetermination. You don't have to send us your information. And if you did send us the information and you weren't eligible, we're still not taking adverse action. We're not going to run penalty periods, on and on and on. Well, they started running the penalty periods again, but still in all, the idea was the rules are off. Okay, well, if you go for 3 years and you don't have to play by the rules, and then all of a sudden they say, "Hey, guess what? You have to play by the rules, or we're gonna throw you off the Medicaid," right? If they say that, then what? Then what? Do you think people are still going to follow the rules as precisely as before? I'll leave you with that question. So there's two questions for you. Number one, what happened that made everybody start getting killed by cars again? That's one thing. And the second, what do you think would happen if you didn't make people play by the rules? You're listening to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. Welcome back to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. We've got two questions we posed, and we'll get to those at some point. Number one, why did pedestrian deaths, people getting hit by cars over the time that I've been doing this practice, why did they go way down and then pop back up again? And they pop back up, about back in the day. When was that anyway? Around 2008, 2009. Okay. What happened in 2007 that might have something to do with those death rates popping back up again? That's your brain teaser. That's the stumper of the day. Also, so that's one thing. Why are 400,000 people in Michigan about to lose their health care, through the Medicaid? All right. And the question was, if you stop making people follow the rules, you think people will still follow the rules? Imagine a football game where there are no referees. Imagine NASCAR when nobody checks on the, of course, the saying in NASCAR, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Imagine they didn't do any inspections. What would happen then? What would happen anytime you give people a big incentive to cheat, and then you don't check them on it? Right? They just, Harvard, I think, just came out with another study that said that most people, if they are sure they'll get away with it, will shade the truth. In other words, they'll lie. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But there you go. See, what's going on here is we've had 3 years of people, even in good faith, you're trying to do it. Even if in good faith, you're trying to maintain eligibility. It's not that easy. It really, it's doable. And we guide clients through that process, or used to. We haven't had to for the last few years. But we'll guide you through the process. You don't have to pay us to do it, right? You can do it yourself. That said, if you want us to put the seal of approval on it, then we do charge, and you should really let us do it. That's my take on it, because here's the consequence. I told you this was coming. I get to say, I told you so. And then you can look in the newspaper and see when I did. All right. I've had a number of columns on the COVID hangover. Well, the COVID hangover is showing up right now. All right. And they're estimating, I just saw an article, they're estimating 400,000 people in Michigan alone are going to lose benefits, because when they start back up again in April, it's in April that they're already sending out the notices. But it'll be April when they start throwing people off the rolls again, because they didn't comply with the Medicaid rules on the way through. We're reaching out to folks. And if you have a question, if you've been on the Medicaid and you haven't been submitting those forms, which you haven't had to do, it would behoove you to have somebody take a look at it, because trying to fix that stuff after they decided you're off the program can be very, very difficult indeed. And as I said, in a year, in 12 months, people mess this up. It's not easy. I'm telling you, it's not easy. It's like going to a tax audit. Can you imagine how far off the beam people are going to be after 3 years? Not 12 months, 3 years. I think it's going to be pretty bad. So, and this newspaper article, just more confirmation of that, 400,000. That's a lot of people. So anyway, 616-774-2424, or drop us an email, david@davidcarrierlaw.com. And we did get an email. How about that? from one of our clients, actually. He says, we currently have our house in an asset protection trust through your firm. Yay. Excellent. And it's been there for more than 5 years. Even more excellent, because now no one can take it away from you, including you can apply for Medicaid, and the house doesn't count. You say, well, wait a second, the house already didn't count. I say, yeah, but not like this. So now's the question. What happens or has to happen when we want to sell it and buy a new one, a new house? Would the new house have a new 5-year look-back period? So the short answer is no, it would not have a look-back period. The longer, so in other words, it's safe, right? Because here's the mechanism. When you sell your house, and this is not an unusual misconception. People think, well, if I do this trust, I got to wait for 5 years before I can sell my house. Well, no, that's not true either. You could sell your house in year 2 or 3 or 4. Year 1, go ahead, sell it whenever you want to sell it. The key is that when you put it in the trust, you began the 5-year look back, the 5-year clock that we talk about, the 5-year race. You got 5 laps around the year, 5 laps around the sun to complete. And now the house is off the table as far as Medicaid is concerned. That's how it works. Now, what if you were to sell it in the meantime? Again, no problem, because the key is when you put it into the trust, you triggered the 5-year period. Now, if you sell it, the house goes out of the trust. That's true. The house goes out of the trust. It was in the trust. That's what triggered the 5 years. And that was 2 years ago, let's just say. So 2 years ago, you put it in the thing, and now it's in there. And you're living in it, and life is one sweet song. It's no problem. But then you say, ooh, this house is too big, too small. We need a house that's just right. And so you find one, and back when interest rates were 2%. And now your house goes out of the trust. What happens next is the money from the house goes into the trust. Are you with me on this? So the house goes out, the money goes in. All you did was change the nature of your investments. And that has no impact on anything. This is why if you sold, you say, well, I can keep my house anyway. Yeah, you sell it because you're downsizing or what have you. Now you got a bunch of cash. We'll turn the cash over. You don't have to do that with the protection trust, or the root seller trust, we call it, right? So once it's in, that triggers the 5 years. If you sell it in the meantime, the house goes out, the money comes in. And you say, well, I want that house. That one's just right. Fine. The money goes out, or some of the money goes out, and the new house comes in. All you're doing is rearranging your investments. That has nothing to do with that look back period. So you are clean and green, good and safe, no problem at all. We're getting to the end of the segment. When I get back, we'll go a little more in depth on what exactly the process is. And it's no big deal, really. But we'll do it. We'll go into what is the process when you have your home in a protection trust and it's been protected now against the long-term care. And what happens next? How does that whole process work? What do you have to remember? Is there any extra paperwork? This and that. Okay, we'll do that when we get back. You've been listening to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney, inviting you to our February 21st. We're trying something really new up at Ferris State University at the University Center. We're trying a whole new way of providing long-term care service. Very exciting, but it's a test for us. It's something we came up with, radically different, much less expensive. We'll see you. If you have a question about that, ask us. You've been listening to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. Welcome back to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, and these are the ventures, of course. All instrumental. That's all they ever did. And you can still understand why they're so popular. Anyway, 616-774-2424. That's the number to call. I gave you a think-em question, a stump the chump kind of question, right? Since I've been practicing law as the law officer David Carrier, did it, quite a while before then, obviously, in the military and what have you. But since we've had the firm going, traffic fatalities among pedestrian fatalities, people got hit by a car and died, right? Went from, I don't know, a whole bunch, thousands, 6,000, 7,000, down to like 4,000. But now it's bounced back. And it started bouncing back 2008, 2009. The question is, what happened around that time to increase the traffic fatalities, right? So they're 50% greater than they used to be. How come? And this is in a time when cars are safer than ever, and they got crosswalks. And, back in the day, they used to have stop signs. Do you remember this? Stop signs, they were red. They had, hexagonal, I think they were, or octagonal, whatever it was. Hexagonal, right? 6 sides, I think so. And, but now we're so safe, right? We have signs that tell us about the signs. How did that get to be a thing? Do you think the sign makers have friends in Lansing? I don't know. Is that even possible? No, that could never happen. It's all about safety. That's why the signs have signs, which have signs so that you know to be safe. And it worked, at least for traffic fatalities, for people hitting each other in their cars. Plus, you get airbags and every other God blessed thing. But pedestrian fatalities are spiking up. How come? What happened? That's the question. Want to know? Blame it all on Steve Jobs. He came out with the iPhone, right? You had cell phones before then, yeah. Remember those things, the lunch boxes? It weighed, 8 pounds or whatever the heck. You were like out in the DMZ with your radio. So so cell phones went from being a clunky, leave it in the car, really a car phone, to hey, look at this, I can read stuff on it. right across the street, bang. So, they say that correlation is not causation. The fact that fatalities started spiking up right after they introduced it. Oh, I'm sure that doesn't mean anything. But you tell me. What do you? That's why you got more and more pedestrians. And of course, that's Darwin's law in action, right? If you're that stupid, maybe we should take you out of the gene pool quicker. And with apologies to anybody who lost a loved one who was reading the news on their cell phone and walked into the street and got hit by a Mack truck. It's tragic if that happens to you. So don't let it happen to you. Don't be an idiot. That's my advice. All right. Now we got a 616-774-2424. David at davidcarrierlaw.com if you've got an email question. So we had a client who at 7:15 very nicely sent us an email. See, that's how quick we get to them. And they have a trust with us, and they did the I don't want to lose everything to the nursing home routine. Okay, good. Another genius move by one of our clients. Who wants to go broke in the nursing home? I don't know. Most people, it seems like, because that's what happens. But it doesn't have to happen. That's the point. And the thing is, they've had their house in there more than 5 years, happy living in it and all that. The question, though, curiosity, what if we wanted to sell it? And there's a misconception out there that you have to wait for the 5 years to be up before you can sell it. No, you can sell it. In fact, it is not at all unusual, pretty common, when we're dealing with folks and they have like the cottage or rental property and they're like, oh, I'll put it off until, because we're just about to sell this thing and we'll wait until it's sold and then we'll do the trust. And it's like, no, because as Shakespeare said, there's many a slip twixt the cup and the lip, right? Or the cup and the sip. I don't know. I don't remember. Anyway, the idea is things happen that can put off your best laid plan of mice and men, gang after glay, right? There's another Robbie Burns there. Yeah. So, see, it's a poetry hour around here. Anyway, the point is that you might be planning to sell the house, but that might not happen. It might not happen for quite a while. And now you've got this asset that's unprotected. So we always put them in the trust as soon as possible. We don't put off things because I don't know what the future holds. I don't think you do either. So let's be safe rather than sorry. So now the house is in the trust. And the question is, we got the clock started. We're beginning to protect it. Yes. What if we want to sell it? You can sell it. So the house goes out, the money comes in to the trust, the money goes out of the trust, the new condo, house, cottage, whatever it is, comes in. And that's true of stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. That's true of any investment that you have in the trust. Remember, under the IRS rules, these are disregarded entities. They're grantor trusts. Why? Because you retain, among other reasons, you retain complete control over the investments. Because you retain complete control, that means you can buy and sell and substitute. You can do whatever you want. It's your money. It's your trust. It's your stuff. No problem. Now, here's how this works, because who in the world is going to remember all that? The answer is we will, right? But not you. So here's the deal. When you want to sell your house, give us a call. Call us. Doesn't cost you anything, right? And tell us, hey, I'm going to sell my house. And we say, hey, that's wonderful. Send over the listing agreement for the realtor that you're going to use. Why don't you? Send us the listing agreement. You say, well, what do you care about the listing agreement? I say, well, there's three things wrong, my view of the world, three things wrong with every listing agreement, right? The first is the commission is too high. They want 7%. Or if they sell it within the firm, they still want the entire commission. Well, I'll tell you what. If you sold it outside your realty company, you'd split it. You get 3% instead of 6 or 7, right? So why not, if you sell it within your company, right? Why not cut the commission to 4% or 3.5%? And what we've found is that people generally, realtors, are very accepting of that because they're going to sell it outside the firm anyway. Most of the time, they're not really giving anything up. But if they do have a buyer prospect within the firm, they're still making more money, right? They're still advantage to them. They're making more than they would have. It's just they're not making the full 6% because you're not using that outside source, right? That's one thing. Commission's too high. It goes on too long, right? I mean, if you let a realtor do whatever they want, you'll get a 6-month listing agreement, 9-month listing agreement. Well, no, we'll give you 60 days. How about that? All right, not a year. And then the third thing is they want to be a dual agent. I think dual agency is one of the worst ideas that's come down the pike in terms of integrity for people. Look, if you give people a chance, you make the stakes high enough, right? And then give them a chance to cheat without getting caught, right? People are going to do it. 90% of people will come up with a reason for not doing the righteous thing. That's the science, right? That's the, follow the science. But that's the stats. I mean, that's what people will do. Okay. Why do you want to give a realtor the incentive? And in fact, now it's their ethical obligation not to tell you what's going on. I mean, you can't serve two masters, right? Don't we know this already? You love one and despise the other one. You love one and hate the other one, right? And yet this dual agency concept, which they all love because now they get both sides of the commission, which incidentally we took care of in number 1, right? It's a very powerful incentive. So no, we're not doing any dual agency. Forget about it. All right. So those are the 3 things on the listing agreement. When we get back, we'll talk about the 6 things wrong with the buy-sell agreement and the troubles we have with closings. These are all things that we do without additional charge because we're just advising you. We're not rewriting anything. Okay. You're listening to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. Welcome back to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. And now's the time. Give us a call, 616-774-2424. That's 616-774-2424. We'll get your question, comment, or concern on the air. That's what we do. We did get a email today from a client who put their house in the trust, and now it's been 5 years. And a little bit of a misconception there that the idea was that, well, now that it's 5 years, it's all safe from the long-term care, from the Medicaid. Yes, it's true. It's now off the table. That's right. Correct. The misconception arises from this idea that they could not have sold it before. Well, actually, you can sell it whenever you want. 1 year, 2 years, next day. It's up to you. You do what you want. Because when you do these trusts, these Medicaid divestment trusts, or what we call the root cellar trust or the asset protection trust, so many names. That's the thing. Everyone says we call it the root cellar, right? Because the idea is it's down in the root cellar, and if the bad weather happens, it's all protected. Isn't that great? And people are like, well, what do you really call it? And well, so many names for it. You know what I mean? It's a disregarded entity. It's a grantor trust. It's a this trust. It's a that trust. The names don't help you. The labels really do not help you that much when it comes to trusts. They just don't. Because everyone's like, "Oh, I have a trust." Yeah, okay. I bet you have a tool also. Oh, I have a tool. Good. Well, what kind of tool? Is it a hammer? Is it a paintbrush? Is it a sharp and pointy? Is it heavy and dull, blunt? I mean, what is it? Right? See, that's the thing. When you say trust, you're just saying, I have a tool, because that's all a trust is. It's just a tool. It's there to do something for you. Right? It's a way you get stuff done, but it isn't a strategy in and of itself. You see? I mean, you can use a trust to carry out a strategy. Absolutely. That's what it's there for. But it's not a strategy. All right? Really important. Anyway, long story short, when a client wants to sell a house, so we say, look, it's always a free phone call. It's always a free visit. Please pick up the phone. Please talk to us. We'll review the listing agreement. Listing agreement goes on for too long. Commission's too high. Agent wants to be a dual agent. No. We're not agreeing with any of that. Okay. And if they want to list your house, they'll still list your house. Don't worry about it. We already went into that. The second is the buy-sell agreement. There's all kinds of little places for liability to pop up in the buy-sell agreement. The seller's disclosure statement, for example, has a thing that everybody always signs off on saying, has there been evidence of water in the basement? Everyone says, no, my basement is dry. Well, it's Michigan, okay? And unless your house is at the top of a sandy hill, right? If it's in clay, and God knows we got enough clay around here, right? The hydrostatic pressure, and we can go into the whole thing, it means you've got a leaky basement, all right? Unless you, even when you put sump pumps in and you tile it and you do all the rest, okay, there will be evidence of water in the basement. So maybe not a lot. So we always say yes, right? On that question, when they say, has there been evidence of water in the basement? Yes, there's been evidence of water in the basement. And then in the explanation, you say some dampness. Well, go find a basement that doesn't have some dampness in it, and I'll show you the Taj Mahal, I guess. I don't know. So you always do. The other one is, have there been structural modifications, alterations, or repairs done without necessary permits or licensed personnel? Everyone always says no to that. And then when the thing burns down because you put the ceiling fan in wrong, now you got personal liability, at least arguably. Or when they discover that you reverse polarity on the plugs and now you ruin their stereo or something. Now they're coming after you for making a false statement on your seller's disclosure statement, which they're not supposed to be able to do, but they do anyway. And just saying. Okay. So those are the two of the 6 things that we go through. Like in the like appliances. Everybody's always like, yeah, we'll include the appliances. All right. What if the appliances explode? What if they don't work? Now you're on the hook for appliances. Right? Oh, it says as is, where is. Yeah. Now they're out of the deal. They say, look, the dishwasher doesn't, at the closing table. I've seen this. At the closing, it was a hot tub. At the closing table, they're like, nah, we're not going to buy it. And now understand, these people have already gotten on board for the other mortgage, all the rest. And then they show up at the closing table and say, we're not going to buy it because the pump on the included hot tub doesn't work. Well, you're over a total barrel. This was like a textbook. In fact, these people taught at a local college, which will remain unnamed. They taught a real estate purchase course for State University. And they used every dirty trick in the book. I mean, every trick. They got repairs. They got concessions on the occupancy, on and on and on. It was textbook. And if they were doing academic research at Fair State University, if they were doing if that was academic research for them, okay, fine, but they didn't give the money back, right? I mean, this was a saga. So with appliances, with those things that you include, right? You got to write up that they're on a separate bill of sale, and then you assign a value. I like $300. I always say $300 for the appliances. Why? Because if they break, right? Number one, it's not part of the deal in selling the house, which otherwise it is, and any violation of term of the sale, right? Now they don't have to buy it at all. Okay. So you make that a separate deal, separate sale, $300. Oh, the dishwasher doesn't work. Here's your $300. Go away. Are you with me on this? And hold them to the rest of the deal. So it's things like that we're going to tell you about on the buy-sell agreement. Now, you go back to the realtor and say, hey, here are the 6 things you need to fix, right? We're not producing the paper. We're just giving you sage and wise advice, okay? That way, we don't charge you for it. See, if we're writing stuff up, if you want us to write the buy-sell agreement, if you want us to write the buy-sell agreement, we'll quote you a fee for that because now we're producing new paper, right? That's the cutoff for us. If you're an existing client, you already know this. I'm just repeating it because you probably forgot it. Phone call's always free. Visit's always free. Come on down. We'll go over it. Bring your kids. We'll explain it to everybody. No problem. We're here for you, right? But if you want us to do new legal documents, we're going to quote you a fee on that one, okay? And what we found is that most things we can cover without new paper, most of it, right? And we can be very useful. So when you're going to buy, sell a house, we say, hey, do. The third phase, and I've only got a couple of minutes here, the third phase is the closing. Title companies routinely screw up the allocation of the property taxes. That's routine. I'm not saying it's 100%, but man, it's a lot. So we'll double check the math, right? Now, if they may, it's like Monopoly. Bank makes error in your favor, right? You get an extra $50. Well, fine. We're not gonna raise the roof over it. But if it's costing you $50, then we will. I think the average is a couple of $100. And the point is, you say, well, it's only a couple $100. It's $200,000 sale. Hey, if you drop $10 on the floor, I'm going to bet you'd stoop over and pick it up, right? Why get taken advantage of? Forget about it. I'm not gonna. So that's how it works when you're selling from the protection trust. It's just as straightforward as any other closing, which means it's not straightforward, but you can get through it. And we're there for our clients to step them through the process. That's the deal. You've been listening to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney.
Oh.
Hello, and welcome to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney, and you have found the place where we talk about estate planning, elder law, real estate, and business law. Give us a call, why don't you? 616-774-2424. That's area code 616-774-2424. And we'll get your question, comment, or concern on the air. That's how easy it is. You can also drop me an email, david@davidcarrierlaw.com. Do we make it easy for you, huh? You have to put a stamp on it? No. Drop a postcard? No. Envelope? No. You can if you want, of course. We love the snail mail as well. But david@davidcarrierlaw.com. That's all you have to do. 616-774-2424. So there you go. If you'd like to get your question, comment, or concern about wills, trusts, or probate, about Medicaid, I tell you, the proverbial fecal matter is about to hit the rotating air movement appliance when it comes to the Medicaid. They just saw a report the other day, 400,000 Michiganders, Michiganians, whatever you want to call us, 400,000 going to be thrown off Medicaid when they start enforcing the rules again. See, they haven't been enforcing the rules on Medicaid now for 3 years, since March of 2020. Well, it's almost March, it's February, almost March of 2023. So there you go. Maybe it's 2 years, depending on how you count it. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not a mathematician. It's like those people testify. Is it a man or a woman? I don't know. I'm not a biologist. Is it 2 or 3 years? I don't know. I'm not a mathematician. There you go. But anyway, that's about to happen because they're going to start enforcing the rules again, which will come as a great surprise, an unhappy surprise for a lot of folks who have been sliding by. We're putting on the full court press with our folks, the people we've done literally thousands of Medicaid applications now over the years. I mean, we have thousands who are currently on the programs, but over 100. So, making sure that they don't lose their benefits. All right. This is serious business. And nationally, I saw one thing. The numbers don't really add up because they say Michigan's 400,000, and it was National Public Radio, I think it was, said it's going to be like 9 million nationally. Well, wait a second. There's 50 states. Michigan's not the biggest. It's a big state, but it's not the biggest, right? So 50 times 400,000. That's a more like what, 20 million or something. It's not. It's a lot. Anyway, it's a lot of folks, and it's going to be not good. And I'll tell you who'll be worse for it would be the nursing homes because they can't discharge people. Right? They can't discharge you. What are they going to do when Medicaid just decides to stop paying? It's going to be not good. Well, we've got Bill on the line. Hello, Bill. Welcome to the David Carrier Show.
Yes, thank you for taking my call. Can you review those six steps you did in the last hour about closing and selling? And I'll listen to your answer off the air.
Sure. So this is how we interact with our folks, with clients, when we do this. Okay, when we do when they come to us and say, "Hey, we have a trust with you guys," or not a trust, doesn't really matter. But there's kind of like 3 phases. The first is the realtor phase. Okay, when you choose a realtor. Now you can do it for sale by owner, and we have a whole for sale by owner program that you can go through where you actually do sell the house. But a lot of people aren't comfortable with the effort and all the rest on the for sale by owner. So I'm just going to address myself to the what if you have a realtor, although there's a lot of overlap. Okay. So number 1, you've decided, we're going to sell our house, and you've decided on, your uncle's brother's sister's best friend's niece who sells 2 houses a year, and that's the person, for some reason, you want to entrust the largest transaction in your life. You want to trust it to this person who hardly ever does it. But okay, fine. Yeah, them, their family, sort of. And so what we want to see first is the agreement, the listing agreement. This is the agreement by which you hire the realtor. It's important because there's 3 things wrong. This is my view of the world. 3 things wrong with every listing agreement. The first thing wrong with the listing agreement is it goes on for too long. All right. Think about it. If you're a realtor, do you want a short listing or a long listing? The answer is you want a long listing. Why? Well, who doesn't want a little extra time? Everybody. I don't want to be rushed. Okay. I don't want to be hurried. If I can get 6 months or 9 months or a year, why not? Okay. Until very recently, there was no reason to go beyond 45 days because everything was selling as soon as they put it out there. But okay. So you got to tailor it to the market. You got to be realistic. You got to be reasonable. Okay. But there's no reason to a 6-month listing. That's just a security blanket for the realtor, which we love our realtors, but I'm not in the business of providing security blankets. So that's number 1. Number 2, the commission is too high. All right. Now, you don't hardly see anyone charging a 7% commission anymore. They're all like at 6%. Okay, fine. But here's where you can save some money. If a realtor, the listing realtor, that's the person that you hired, puts it out there, and you got listing realtors and selling realtors. So you have some people who what they do is they list. They go out and they're very good at getting people to list properties. Okay. Then you got other people who are good at selling properties, and the listing agent, right, lists them, and then the other person sells them. And when that happens, and then one gets 3%, the other one gets 3%. Right. So if you're one of those listing agents who all you ever do all day is list properties, then, you're used to getting 3%. Right. Now, what if you sell it within your own agency? You're only expecting 3%. What if you got 4%? What if you got 3.5% if you sold it within your own agency? Okay. Within your own realty group. All right. Let's cut the commission. Look, you were expecting 3 and you're getting 3.5 or 4 even. All right. That's a pretty good deal. And it saves you 2%. Right? You don't have to, but why not? Ask. And then the last thing is so many agents want to be dual agents. When you're a dual agent, this is like the worst thing in the world, it seems like to me, because it puts the realtor in like an impossible situation and it doesn't serve the client very well. But there it is. We've got it. We've got to deal with it. If you're the listing agent, and that's all you are, you represent the seller. Okay. You go beat up on the other guy. You get the highest price possible. If there's any hint that they give you an extra nickel, then you tell your seller, hey, I think we can get an extra nickel out of this guy. Out of this buyer. That's your job as listing agent. If you're the seller's agent, okay, then you're telling your client, hey, I bet they'd take less. However you figured that one out, whether your crystal ball or your body language techniques or whatever the heck. So, I think we should hold out further. Okay. And however you got the information, you use it to protect your client. Now, if you're a dual agent representing both sides, you can't tell the seller, hey, I think he'll give us more money. And you can't tell the buyer, hey, I think he'll take less money. You represent them both. What? I mean, how do you even thread that needle? Good luck for that. So no dual agents. Forget about it. I mean, it goes against human nature. It goes against common sense. It goes against everything that's good and holy. So no dual agency. Plus, there was a realtor out there who wouldn't list the agreement, who wouldn't list your house unless you signed a dual agency with him and gave him exclusive rights as a seller's agent. Are you with me on this? So he locked you up on both coming and going, right? So he wouldn't show a house unless you signed a seller's agency with him. So if you go with this guy, yeah, he's your listing agent, dual agent, and he wouldn't even show your house unless he had the other person locked up. So you call him up. I did this. You call him up and say, hey, I'd like to see that house. Well, you got to sign a seller's agent agreement. I'm not signing a seller's agent agreement. Well, we're not going to show you the house. Got away with it. Anyway, so that whole thing is terrible. That's the first phase, right? Next phase is the actual buy-sell agreement, and we'll get into that when we get back from the break. How's that? You're listening to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. Welcome back to the David Carrier Show. I'm still David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. And we're talking about the steps to go through when you're looking at selling a house. Okay. So it's not just the closing, I think that was the specific question, but we are looking at the kind of a little bit of the bigger picture, right? So the first has to do with the listing. And to all my realtor friends out there, who are now angry with me. You got to negotiate the listing agreement just as you would negotiate anything else, right? And you want to leave money on the table, I guess. As for me, I'd rather give it to the church, but fine. You want to give it to the realtor? That's up to you. But we dealt with that already. Just listen to the rerun. If you can download it. That's fine. So that's the realtor. Then the second thing is the buy-sell agreement. Again, just like everything in this, everyone's going to tell you it's just standard. Here's how we do it. We don't do it some other way. Blah, 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 blah. Baloney. Especially now, we're still in a seller's market as far as the inventory goes. It's taken longer to sell houses and it's all that. Yeah, that's true. But there's still seller's market. Okay. So you've got negotiating power. You always have negotiating power, whether you realize it or not. And it just seems very obvious to me that in this environment, you still do. Okay. So here's what I'm saying with regard to the buy-sell agreement, right? And they put the papers in front of you, sign here, sign here, sign here. It's all standard. No. Slow down. First thing you want to look at is your seller's disclosure statement. There are statements on there that are problematic. Now, it does say on there, oh, you can't use this as a basis for a fraud lawsuit, but who believes that, right? So just a few of the things. There's the thing about leaky basement. There's the thing about unlicensed personnel and no permits. There's the thing about near a shooting range or airport or noise or something like that, right? So the first is the leaky basement. Every basement in Michigan leaks. Just start from that, okay? And it doesn't even say leaks. What it says is, has there been evidence of water in the basement? Well, I don't know. I spilled a glass of water down there last week. Oh, look, evidence of water. Okay. So you have to say yes. It's such a broad question. Everyone says no. You always say yes. Say yes. They don't care if you said yes. All right. And when you say yes, now they can't say, oh, you told me there was no water in the basement, and here's evidence of water. Yeah, but I spilled a glass of water down there. Yeah, it's evidence of water. Okay. So, all right. You always say yes. And then some dampness. Because let's face it, it's a West Michigan basement. All right. I got a walkout, right? And the snow piled up against the window, it leaked in. Okay. It's not a leaky basement case, whatever, right? But is there evidence of water in the basement? Yeah. So I had to dig a little trench. So now the water runs away. I don't have the problem anymore. But did I have a problem? Yeah, I did. Even though it's it's half in the hill, it's a walkout. So you always say yes. The other thing you say yes to is, have there been structural modifications, alterations, or repairs done without licensed personnel or necessary permits? Listen, if you spent 5 minutes in Handy, well, Handy Andy's not around anymore, but at Lowe's or Menards or, the aisle over there at Meijer, right? Chances are you've done stuff that there's an ordinance on, right? And you're not supposed to be doing that, right? You should have you should have gotten a permit. You should have had licensed personnel. Raise your hand if you've put a ceiling fan in. Okay, raise your hand if you've ever put a light switch in. Raise your hand if you ever put an outlet in. Let alone that botch of a plumbing job you did when or the shower you put outside or God knows what. Okay. All right. Chances are you have violated that. So you say yes. Right. Have they been without that? Yes, I did it. Nobody cares. They don't care when they're buying a house. And then your explanation is, get this, you say, what do we say? Minor remodeling. I mean, you didn't put a new room on, right? So it's remodeling, minor remodeling, and handyman repairs. Handy person, if you insist. All right. So you put that in there. Now they're on alert that you went to Handy Andy once upon a time, or Lowe's or someplace. All right. That's the whole point. You did give them notice. Then the whole thing with the shooting range, airports, and stuff like that. I get it. You're 10 miles from the airport. Every once in a while, you see contrails in the sky. Say yes anyway, right? Where I live, there's a shooting range that's not far away. There's a lot of shooting ranges around here. Okay, so you always say yes. Sometimes you can hear them, sometimes you can't. But I guarantee you that when you sell your house, you're going to sell it to an anti-gun nut. A nut who's anti-guns, not just normal anti-gun. I mean, you don't have to be a nut to be anti-guns, though it helps. But one of those people who gets hives when they hear smell of gunpowder and, love the smell of cordite in the morning. That's our saying. But, some people don't like the bangity bang bang. And if they can hear it, however, then they're going to be suing you, right? Or like we're near a high school. So when the wind is right, you hear the band practicing. Now they got to be like a mile away, at least half a mile away. But you hear the band practicing, the marching band at certain time. Oh, you didn't disclose that. So disclose it, right? Put it down there. Nobody cares. See, they don't care when they're buying. You know when they care? They care when they're stuck with the house and they decided that you lied to them. That's when they care. So put it down. It won't matter. All right. That's on the seller's disclosure statement. The other thing is, I got 3 minutes here. So the other thing is with the and the buy-sell agreement is when you sell your appliances, right? There's what they call a zipper clause. Most contracts have a zipper clause where they say this contract is the whole contract with regard to everything, and it zips it up. That's the idea. Well, what you just did was you just made the whole deal contingent on the sale of those appliances. What if the appliances don't pass inspection? What if the refrigerator explodes? What if the dishwasher leaks? What if? Okay. And then they come back to you and say, we're getting out of the deal. This is, a week before closing, unless you replace all the appliances because we don't like avocado anymore, or the dishwasher leaked or something, right? Now you're over a barrel because any violation of the contract is a violation of the whole contract. And now they can get out because they don't like the appliances anymore. Screw that. You make that a separate deal within the deal, right? And it's on a separate bill of sale. They don't go with the house. You break that thing out and separate bill of sale and assign $300 to the value. Why? So then when the refrigerator explodes or what have you, right? Or it doesn't work or leaks or whatever, you give them $300. You're done with it. See, you assigned a value to those appliances and now you're done. Now, they may just not want to buy your house, right? And they're squirming and they won't show up at the closing and they'll be real terrible. Okay. But at least you're in the clear legally. Keep their earnest money deposit if they don't show up, to pay an extra month on your mortgage because they screwed the deal, right? So screwed it up. So that's the thing, right? When you're writing the contract, do not accept that it is just a standard contract, right? Do not just say yes, 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 or no, no, no when it comes to all those things on the seller's disclosure statement. Don't do it, okay? It will come back and bite you. Not every time, but enough. And besides, all you have to do is check the different box and give them a little explanation. They'll be fine with it. The last, and I've got 30 seconds, I guess. The last is the closing. Oh, there's the music. Well, we'll deal this when we get back from the news. How about that? You're listening to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. Welcome back to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. And now's the time to give us a call, 616-774-2424. We've got Linda on the line, and just as soon as I finish up with the closing part of it, then we'll get to Linda. So here's the thing. We've got we already hired the realtor, right? We made sure that we didn't lose our shirt or expose ourselves to unnecessary liability, and that's really what it's about in the buy-sell agreement, right? What you don't want is you don't want someone walking away. You need to wrap up that buy-sell agreement. One other thing, just a tidbit. You give people the right to inspect the property, right? They have a right to inspect. Well, why are you giving them 30 days? Why are you giving them 14 days? Why not give them 7 days? And why would you let them off the hook if they just decide they don't like your color scheme, which is basically what you're doing with these inspection things? Why not say that the only reason, and now I'm back to the buy-sell agreement instead of the closing. Why not put into the buy-sell agreement that the only reason for scotching the deal, the only reason for getting out of it would be a code violation, right? So this is not enough for them to say, oh, I don't like your colors. Well, that's not a code violation. Come up with a code violation. Oh, and by the way, I have the right to repair. So if you do come up with a code violation, because when I put the outlets from, Menards in, I reversed the polarity, and now they're like, oh, I don't want that. And they say, fine, I'll fix it. So you fix it. Now they still have to buy it. And you don't have to go through the whole mishigas of open houses and buy-sell agreements and all the rest of this stuff. All right. How about that? Put that in the buy-sell. There's a few other little twisty things that we do. But and listen, again, you don't want to. It's almost impossible to sell to an unwilling buyer. Okay, if the buyer really is doing the mule routine and sitting there, I'm not going to buy the dang thing, right? Well, they can make your life very, very difficult. Okay, so you don't really want to sell to somebody like that. But buyer's remorse is a real thing, because as soon as they put the money down on your house, everything else looks better. Like Irma Bombeck said, the grass is always greener over the septic tank. Okay, fine. I don't know how that applies here. But anyway, the point is that as soon as they decide to buy your house, everything else looks better, right? When you ask the girl out to the prom, all of a sudden everyone, and she said yes, everyone else, and the same way. When you said, you said yes to whoever invited you to the prom, and you said yes, well, all of a sudden, everybody, all the rest of the guys look better, and they start asking you. So my point is that once you've made a decision, this is just human nature. Once you've made a decision, the decisions you didn't make look better. There's nobody surprised by that, right? I mean, we all get that. So that's what happens. And sometimes when you write enough of this stuff into the buy-sell agreement, right, it's enough to nudge them over the sandbar into deep water again, right? Where they, where they really wanted to buy your house, but now they got the heebie-jeebies and you're just helping them out, okay? All right, so we've done that. We got the right realtor. We got the right deal with the right realtor who's working for us, not somebody else. We've plugged all the holes of liability in the buy-sell agreement. Somebody actually buys our house, and now we're going to the closing. Well, usually there's a proration of the property taxes, and usually that's done incorrectly. Not hugely incorrectly, but a few $100 here and there, okay? Well, a few $100 is a few $100, Go to McDonald's all week long now. You save a couple $100, right? So my point is, if you drop $10, if $10 fell out of your wallet or out of your pocket, would you bend over and pick it up? I'm going to guess you would. And if you would, right, then why leave a couple $100 on the table because they messed up the proration on the closing? Double check that. And all those numbers, look, they're busy at the title company. They're busy and they're trying to do the right thing and they do a good job and everything else. Okay. Yeah. But they're not the Oracle at Delphi, for crying out loud. You know what I mean? They're not a supercomputer. They get it wrong frequently. Okay. So you got to double check everything. If you don't understand, see, the way they get over on you is they make you embarrassed for saying, I don't understand. It's your money. It's money, right? It's your house. It's all that. It's your potential liability if it doesn't go smoothly. If you don't understand, say, I don't understand. If there's a number on there and it's not immediately obvious what it is, show me the math. Not show me the money. Show me the math. How'd you get there? Show your work. That's what you need to, my suggestion is, that's what you need to do, right? And like I say, because we go over this stuff and we're always finding mistakes, right? Sometimes it's in our favor. Shut up. Sometimes it's not in our favor. Scream. Yeah, I know that's horrible. I'm not the Oracle at Delphi either. I'm working for my clients, right? If it's okay for me. There's a card in Community Chest, and I think it's Community Chest in Monopoly, right? Bank makes error in your favor. Get $50. Yay. Okay, so you don't look to the Monopoly game for your morality. I get it. I'll be honest and open and, goes either way. But that's those are the things, some of the things. There's 3 phases. There's the hire the realtor, there's the sell the house, and then there's conclude the deal, right? Those are really the 3 phases. And, there's a lot more I haven't talked about, other things we do to tweak the buy-sell agreement, other things we do at the closing, to lock in the deal, the whole issue of property taxes, the whole issue of closing costs. These are all things that are open for negotiation, right? They may not like that you opened it for negotiation. Tough. It's your money, isn't it? Okay. So that's the deal on buying houses or selling them. We got Linda on the line. Hello, Linda. We've got about 3 minutes now. If you can let me know what the issue is, and we can knock it out in the next segment. How about that? Hey, Linda.
Do you want me to let you know now?
Yeah.
Hi.
That way I can call somebody. That way during the break I can call somebody who really knows what the hell's going on around here, and get a good answer for you.
So Arnie turned 60 last year, and I've turned 60 this year. We're going on TRICARE, and now I wanted to roll into whatever else we need to do for the beginning steps in getting into a trust and titling our assets into a trust. But I want to take advantage of his military service.
Right.
And I don't really know how to deal with the military.
So is he a retiree then? Yeah, because you're staying on TRICARE.
He's a retiree from the Army National Guard, so Army.
Okay. Yeah. So
he's also currently a DOD employee.
Oh, okay. All right. Is he a Beltway bandit? It says you're in Virginia, in West Virginia, Northern Virginia. Where you at?
We're in Fairfax.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Very good.
I'm Dave's sister.
Where's that?
I'm Dave's sister.
Oh, okay. Oh, that Linda.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm with you. All right. Well, let's not leer our. Okay. So here's the way. Go ahead.
So I don't know how to deal with the military. Everything goes through his logins and everything, and I just don't know where to begin to get information about what benefits I might be able to take advantage of being a military retiree.
Got you covered. Okay. So when we get back, we'll hit that. We'll hit that hard. How about that? Okay.
That'd be great.
Okay, Linda, you hang on, and we'll be back. You're listening to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. And now's the time for you to drop me an email, david@davidcarrierlaw.com. Welcome back to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney. Now's the time to, not the time to call, because we've got, 10 minutes left, and we've got Linda on the line. Linda's husband's military retiree, or about to be, I guess. And the question is, what about long-term care for us? What is the TRICARE thing all about, and how do we make it? How do we make that thing work? Well, here's the deal, and I'm going to read you from the TRICARE.mil website. See, a lot of folks think that TRICARE covers long-term care. It does not. Okay, it's sort of like Medicare that way, where people think, oh, I'm covered for skilled nursing because I have Medicare or I have TRICARE. Actually, both of them have the same definition for, and this is the tricky thing about all this long-term care stuff that you got to be aware of. There are different definitions for the same words. Okay, when you say skilled nursing care, that means one thing for a nursing home. It means something else for Medicare. It means something else for Medicaid, and it means something else for TRICARE. Actually, TRICARE is a lot more like the Medicare definition, which means skilled nursing care means that unless you had the services of someone who's required to be a registered nurse, not an LPN, not an aide, but you had to be receiving services that were required to be provided by a registered nurse. Does that make sense? Registered nurse services, okay?
Yeah.
If you don't need registered nurse services, it ain't skilled care. But that's not true in a nursing home. Nursing home says it's skilled care, and you don't need a registered nurse. Medicaid, again, you're entitled to skilled nursing care under Medicaid, even though you don't need a registered nurse to provide the services. So my point is, these words are slippery. These words are tricky. It's not easy, but this is what, if you go to TRICARE.mil, www.tricare.mil, go to long-term care. Is it covered? Long-term care. Under long-term care, the very first sentence, TRICARE doesn't cover long-term care. You can discuss exceptions or partial exceptions to the no coverage guidance with your regional contractor case manager. Generally, what they're talking about for the exceptions has to do with rehabilitation. So if you went in and it's the same test as for Medicare, you got to be in the hospital for 3 days. This is another requirement that is going to bite people like an alligator in the tuchus when they start reinforcing it, because under the COVID, under the emergency, you didn't have to be in a long-term care, an acute care facility for 3 midnights. You didn't have to. So if you were in and they got you right out again, out to the rehab, that was fine. Medicare would cover it. TRICARE would cover it. Then they said, well, we don't want people hanging around in the hospital. We got more urgent needs, right? So we're not going to require you to be in the hospital for 3 midnights anymore. 3 midnights. You have to be in for 3 midnights. It's not 3 days. It's 3 midnights. Midnight admission, midnight. Now you can go to a rehab facility. That's coming back. That was gone. It's coming back. And people are going to be messed up with that. That's just reality. Okay. So those are the things that TRICARE will pay for, that Medicare will pay for. That's the rehab. But you only get 20 days of coverage unless you have supplemental insurance. Then there's a copay, which the supplemental insurance will cover. So you have a thing called TRICARE for Life that you might look into, right? Because if TRICARE doesn't cover it, TRICARE for Life will. Probably. I mean, you got to look at the benefits, okay? This is why for our military veterans, because TRICARE doesn't cover, and I'm not even getting into the state-run systems of homes for veterans. Like Michigan has pretty good home for vets, right? Run by the VA and all that. Well, if there's a bed, if you like the VA, if you like that kind of facility, okay, fine. But TRICARE is not going to pay for private nursing home. Medicaid does, you see. And all the private nursing homes except Freedom Village in Zealand, or America House, I forget which one. Anyway, there's a place in Zealand that doesn't take it, but they're the only ones I know of. It doesn't take the Medicaid. Everyone else takes it. So for our veterans, am I saying get on the Medicaid? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Get on the Medicaid. You might as well. One more thing, you pay tax. Well, wait a second, Linda. When you're in the military, you don't pay any taxes, do you?
Well, he's been in the gray area, so he's been working since he's been retired 24 years.
Yeah, so he doesn't pay any taxes. Is that right?
He does. He pays taxes on
What?
income that he earns past retirement.
What? He pays taxes? Oh, go on.
We're only 60. So we're not retired.
Okay.
So he's still working.
Gotcha. Well, anyway, my point was a lot of folks think that if you're in the military, you don't pay taxes. And of course, you do pay taxes unless you're in a war zone. If you're not in a war zone, then you're paying taxes on the money that the government pays you. State and federal taxes, you're paying it. Okay, so my point is the Medicaid is something that you've paid for through your tax dollars at work. All right? The military is another thing you pay for through your tax dollars at work, and so is the federal government. But that doesn't mean that government employees don't pay taxes. Of course they do. So my advice and practice has been with folks in your situation, and 60 is the age where you do this, because you'll get to 65 before you can turn around. It happens in a blink of an eye.
Right.
And now you've got your assets protected.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Now's the time to do it. 60 is, and we've got people with businesses and, which or rental properties, that kind of thing, where we do advise for the asset protection aspect, you do it earlier. But for most folks, and TRICARE doesn't cover it. You got the homes for vets, and maybe you like them and maybe you don't. Maybe they're available, maybe they're not. Like, who the hell knows? So what I say is, look, if I can get covered by the home for vets, that's an option by the VA. But I also have this Medicaid thing Well, I'd rather have two choices than one, wouldn't you? So yeah. So that's why we would. So for our military folks, that's why we're doing it anyway. And besides, lots of time the home for vets is for the vet, not for the spouse. So I mean, you can get spouse too, but really, you want as many options as possible. And so it's just good planning, I think, to take advantage of the things that you've already paid for, like Medicaid, which pays for long-term care. So, and I sympathize with you on the whole TRICARE thing. It does get to be quite confusing. On the other hand, the TRICARE.mil, because I've had to go to it a number of times, when we have clients with questions about, is this covered? Is that covered? It's pretty good website. Just saying. It's confusing.
It was my first open enrollment in November, and it was tough.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I learned a lot then.
Yeah. There you go. It's worth it though. Hey, that music means I need to get out. Thanks for calling, Linda. All right. And we'll
thank you.
You betcha.
Thanks.
Thank you. You've been listening to the David Carrier Show. I'm David Carrier, your family's personal attorney.